There's a story of a very lovely lady who was bringing up three very lovely girls. You know the rest, right? Well, that lovely lady's home and her hubby's is now for sale. And today, we hear from the Beverly Hills real estate agent charged with selling the Brady Bunch's house. It's a family-friendly episode 640 of the now 14-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of 1970s marketing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. I do that through weekly in-depth conversations with successful business founders who have walked the path before us. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire that it absolutely deserves to be. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Bit of housekeeping. This week, this podcast turns 14 years old. Hip, hip, hooray for the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I'm not really one for celebrating milestones, although I do say to you, you got to celebrate the big and the small wins. I'm pretty chuffed about it. Most importantly, I just want to thank you for tuning in. Whether you've been listening, maybe this is your first episode, maybe you've been listening for all 14 years. I absolutely appreciate it. It's a cliche to say that, the show wouldn't be what it is without the listeners. Well, the show just wouldn't be without the listeners. It's as simple as that. So I'm eternally grateful for you giving me your time to listen in to me rabbit on about helping your business grow through some smart marketing. And if any of the 640 guests that I've had on this podcast over the years are listening, a very, very big thank you to you as well, because again, not much of a show without guests. It'd just be me rabbiting on. So hip, hip, hooray. Happy birthday to the Small Business Big Marketing podcast. Awesome. More importantly, a very warm welcome to my new Patreon members, Jared Healy and Jasmine Hesseltine. Thanks for supporting the work I do for small business. It's so appreciated. Really, really, I just love it when I see a new member come through. If you're not one, but you are a motivated business owner, then I would encourage you to join my membership. Give it some consideration, particularly if you're looking for some additional marketing support and ideas from yours truly. Just in the past week, I've shared a clever idea I saw a hotel use to get hundreds, if not thousands, of testimonials. I share a negative experience I had at Mickey D's. That'd be the Golden Arches Club for those playing along at home. And it was a great reminder of why and how we all need to make it super easy for our precious customers to give us money, because I got to tell you, they made it super hard. And a case study of a business I came across that's absolutely nailing its pricing strategy. So that's just some of the stuff I've uploaded to my membership just this week, and there's so much more in there. Membership starts at a tax-deductible $8.50 a month with no lock-ins, and I've just opened a 7-day free trial for the middle tier. So go check it out at patreon.com/marketing podcast. You got nothing to lose and plenty to gain, as a number of members have already made back much, much, much more than their monthly investment. Patreon.com/marketing podcast. Love to see you on the inside. Now, as you may have realized by now, if you are a long-time listener, I am a curious fella. My curiosity is a major driver in choosing my guests and the questions I ask them. Case in point, years ago when I found you could take a mini submarine ride down to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean to view the Titanic, I immediately had to track down the fellow who was selling the tickets. Check out episode 236. And when I saw there was a cattle ranch in Texas for sale for a whopping $998 million, I simply had to interview the agent responsible for the sale. You can check that out on episode 446. So guess what happened last week when I heard the Brady Bunch house was for sale. Yep, you got it. I contacted the selling agent immediately, hoping for an interview. My head was absolutely bursting with curiosity. How did he get the listing to sell America's second most photographed house behind the White House? How do you price something so iconic? Who are the likely buyers? How do you weed out the tire kickers? How do you market it? And what was Alice's favourite meal to cook for the entire Brady Bunch? So many questions, so little time. So let's go and meet the man with all the answers and then some. His name is Danny Brown. He's from Compass Real Estate, a Beverly Hills real estate agent with 21 years experience selling mega mansions to the mega wealthy. And over his career, Danny has sold 400 properties, totaling a whopping $1.4 billion in sales. You do the math on that little commission check. I love it. I started off by testing Danny's Brady Bunch general knowledge. Danny, I have to start by testing your Brady Bunch general knowledge, if you would indulge me. 3 questions. Your time starts now.
Okay.
Name the oldest male and female sibling.
Oh, let's see. Let me think. I haven't thought of the characters in a while, but let's see. Bobby, Peter. Who is it? Bobby, Greg and Marsha, of course.
Yes, you got it. It's late in the day in LA, mate, so I'm going to cut you some slack. Question 2, what was Mike Brady's profession?
Mike Brady was the architect. It's the architect.
Correct.
I know.
Correct. The last question gets a little bit harder. What was Alice's boyfriend's first name and occupation?
Oh, you can't fool me. I just was in a cloud of dust. Sam the Butcher, baby. Let's go.
Hey!
Sam the Butcher. So I actually have watched every episode growing up, but you caught me off guard with that question. I've been dealing with Little League and kids home from school.
Right.
Summer started. So now I'm locked in.
Don't blame your tools. Oh, well, you are entitled to the listing given you got all 3 answers correct. Tell me, Danny, who's the current owner of the Brady Bunch house and why are they selling?
Yeah, it's owned by Warner Brothers Discovery Channel, which is a studio, the entertainment studio. And they bought the property. I sold it to them back in 2018, and they bought it with the concept of, hey, let's do a show about renovating this old Brady Bunch house and making it look exactly like the set looked. So that's how this all started. They hired the Property Brothers and a host of other all-star designers from HGTV, and they rebuilt this old house in a very quaint, average middle-class Studio City neighborhood in LA and spent a year plus building it. They poured into it close to $2 million in renovations and rebuilt the whole house. So it used to be a 2,000 square foot house. Now it's a little over 5,000 square feet.
And that was actually a reality TV show?
Yeah, HGTV put out a show called The Very Brady Renovation. The whole cast came and the Property Brothers and all that, and they did a whole show about it. So what a lot of people don't know about this house is there was no actual Brady Bunch house. It was all filmed on the Paramount studio lot, and they used just the front of a house, which happens to be this house I'm selling, only in the credits of the introduction of the show. And that was when the creator of the show, Sherwin Schwartz, had said, hey, go out and find a house that would look not too affluent and not too blue collar, something that looks similar to what an architect's home would look like at the time. And they sent out their production crew to look in the neighborhood, and they came back with some houses, and he said, this is the one. Let's use this one. So it was just the outside. The inside was an old, original LA house, and the family that owned it had owned it for 60, 70 years before it was sold to my clients.
So I guess, Danny, perceptions are reality. And the reality is right now what you're selling is actually the Brady Bunch's house, despite the fact that the show wasn't filmed there. I mean, I've seen the video tour, man. I'm looking at the listing on your website. It is the Brady Bunch's house as we all know it to within an inch of its life.
Yeah, even closer than an inch. It's a millimeter. I mean, every inch of the house is exactly like it looked like on the show. And purposefully, they were intentional about taking every frame from the show, room by room, and matching every color, every texture, every finish. And they did it. It's really remarkable. When you walk through there, and even when you see it on video, it's a complete throwback to being on the show. It's a time capsule. It's bananas.
If any Generation Xer is feeling a little bit down in the dumps, all you need to do is go to this listing, watch Danny's virtual tour, and you are taken back, as you say, into a time capsule, into a time when things were just a whole lot more relaxed and a whole lot better, which makes me think in terms of selling it. I want to talk about how you got the listing, but we're talking about the actual home right now. In terms of selling it, are you relying on nostalgia or are you relying on future opportunity?
I think it's both. It's a combination of both. And really, this is more of a collector's house or an investor's house than it is a typical family looking for a 5-bedroom home in Studio City, right? My typical client looking for a house in Studio City isn't looking to purchase a Brady Bunch house. So I'd say out of the people that have come to see it, and there's been a lot, the biggest group and tranche of buyers are pure renter, investor, Airbnb type businesses. That's the majority of the people thinking, oh, wow, we can get a lot of rental income on this, and rent it out for events or parties or weekends. The second largest, and it's a big drop off, majority are investors. The second group I'd say are nostalgic, wealthy collectors that either are art collector, NFT collector, house collector, any combination of that, and really see it as, hey, I'm going to just own it and hold it because it's a collector's piece, partially because I have nostalgia and partially because I see upside in the fact that it's a piece of American pop culture and it's an iconic symbol of that era and generation, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the main breakdown. The third group are, hey, the looky-loos, right? And it's hard to keep the looky-loos out. We are asking for proof of funds, but if someone shows you, $10, $20 million of liquid funds and wants to see the house, okay, we're going to let you in, even if you're a looky-loo, and maybe you will fall in love and decide to buy it anyways. Maybe you'll trick yourself and buy it.
Now, we call looky-loos over here tire kickers, so I think that's what you mean by looky-loos. But yeah. It's looky-loos seems a bit more polite, Danny.
Tire kickers.
A couple of clarifications for those playing at home and who don't live in America. Studio City is simply a suburb of Los Angeles, right? It ain't a city full of studios. It's not a film lot.
Absolutely. It's another the suburb. LA, for those of you who may or may not know it, it's like a city of 50 little cities combined. It's all Los Angeles. This is in the San Fernando Valley. Studio City is was always known as sort of a working class, middle class neighborhood. Over the last couple decades, it's now, every neighborhood of LA is more of a higher end neighborhood. But I think originally it is close to Warner Brothers and Paramount and some of the other lots and studios. So 100 years ago or 80 years ago, somebody decided to name it Studio City. I don't recall. I'm sure if we Googled it, we'd get a better story. But yeah, it's just LA.
Going back to potential buyers, and you've given us the three typical categories of one of the buyers will come from one of those categories. In terms of usage, it is limited. Like you've got a $5.5 million price tag on a property that is surrounded, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but is surrounded by $1.5 to $2.5 million homes. So we've got a premium. I get it. It's the Brady Bunch's house. But in terms of usage, my understanding was that you've got to have 24/7 security out the front because of the amount of people that are trying to come in and peek through the windows. So living there would be difficult. From an event point of view, you are in a neighborhood. This is not a reception center. So events, I thought, you did mention events, but I thought that would be a difficult proposition. Living there's hard. To me, the only usage outside of collecting it and sitting on it and saying, hey, I own the Brady Bunch house, is Airbnb, which would be awesome. And, it'd be full occupancy all year round. Am I missing anything in terms of potential usage?
No, I think you nailed it on the head. I think there are other potential uses. They all come with risk, brain damage, and headaches because you are in a residential area. This isn't an industrial business area. Even with Airbnbs, the neighborhood to neighborhood in LA, there's challenges. There's neighborhood pushback, homeowner association pushback, city pushback. It's very tricky. So even that is going to come with some headaches. But I think that's why the majority of the people that show up are thinking Airbnb. When I say event, I think I can imagine someone throwing a Sweet 16 or a 30th anniversary or a 60th birthday party or a bar mitzvah or a corporate fun thing. We've actually had a couple interesting lifestyle type brands thinking that they would buy it, use it as sort of a small corporate home office and do parties for their company. But that's only been a few. I mean, majority of the people, and I think you're right, the best use would be rental use. And in LA, and I don't know what it's like in your markets, but in LA, Airbnb is immensely popular and profitable, but it comes with a whole lot of headaches and risks, and the city and the neighbors aren't always happy about it.
A thought just came to me. What a perfect purchase for an architectural firm to own that, and it's architecturally, it is actually a beautiful property. Plus Mike Brady was an architect in the show. Tell me, neighbor-wise, Danny, I've had a look at the street view on Google. It's a very suburban, family-friendly neighborhood. Do we have a sense of the neighbors either side and across the road? Are they cool, or are they like, hey, Danny, sell it to someone who ain't going to do too much with it, please, who is going to sit on it?
From my experience, the neighborhoods have been very, very kind, considerate, understanding. I think they've lived with this for so long that this isn't a new situation, and they've they've accepted that, look, we live here. This is never going away. People show up to take pictures 24/7. It's the second most photographed property in the United States after the White House. And I thought, when I heard that, and they told me that, I'm like, yeah, full of it. Yeah, how do you even know? What are you talking about? Well, anytime I've been there all day, people are showing up, and it's all ages. People like to tell me, oh, it's got to be somebody of a specific demographic, and your demographic, it's aging out. People don't even know what the Brady Bunch is. Well, most of the people that show up and take these pictures are much younger than my generation or I'm seeing teenagers and college kids and kids. And they're all into it, wearing the Brady Bunch 70s vibe gear. And so who knows? I think it's really taken a life of its own. It's one of the very few pieces of pop culture or a TV show that's tied together multiple generations through universal themes and coming of age, growing up themes. And, I can't name another show that's done that. So perhaps it's hit a nerve. And this is why. And this is the only tangible symbol that people can put their finger on, literally, and touch.
I think it's hit a huge nerve. And, I have no investor crystal ball, but you look at the way the world is right now. You look at you got kids, I've got kids. They're into all this retro stuff. Everything's vintage. Anything from the 70s, 80s, 90s is like primo stuff. And I think even as adults, we're looking for safety and comfort in a world that's gone mad. And if there was a symbol of that, as a marketing guy, even if we weren't talking and someone said, give me 5 or 10 symbols that represent a better world, I'd go, one of them's the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. Family values, coming of age, being a good person. It represents all the values that we want to embrace that we've lost and our schools and our communities have lost. But that was that show.
And if nothing else, Danny, I just want an Ellis. I want a housekeeper who's going to cook for me, mate.
Yeah,
does she come with the house?
Her chocolate chip cookie recipe is up in the kitchen. There's a little chalkboard and it's up there. So you can at least...
I saw that.
I thought what a funny bit that would be if someone did an event or Airbnb and you hire a Alice lookalike and put her in the blue costume.
Unreal.
There's your chef and your housekeeper for an evening. How incredible it would be. But you can see, as a marketing mind, there's so much low-hanging fruit, that you could go back to the well over and over again, because it's just such a rare, unique nerve ending in American iconic kind of history, and everyone can relate to it.
Danny, you mentioned you actually sold the property in 2018 to Warner Brothers, so you have an existing relationship there. I was interested to know how you got the listing, because previously on this podcast, and I said to you off air a couple of days ago when you agreed to the interview, I'd interviewed Bernard Uckritz, who is a Texan real estate agent who sold the Wagner Ranch for $998 million. And I was like, how the hell did you get that listing? And it was really interesting, because I was expecting some whiz-bang like answer to it, and all he said was it was about relationships. The families were going through court battles. He sat at the back of the court every day for every hearing, and at the end of it, he put his hand up and he said, I'd love to sell this, and that's how he got it. How did you get the listing to sell the Brady Bunch house?
Yeah, well, first of all, trade with the Wagner Ranch right now to take the commission on the $900 million Wagner sale. So they want to trade.
I know.
We can do that, but I'll take the 5.5. So yeah, originally I represented the head of the studio. It was a relationship I had. Their head attorney, the real estate firm attorney. It was a relationship that I had, two close relationships. And they knew that I knew a lot of the brokers that were bringing the property on the market. It wasn't my listing back in 2008. And, so that's like everything, not like everything, but a lot of things in business. It does come down when all things are equal to who do I trust, who do I like, who do I have a good relationship with, who can obviously get the job done too, but you want to like who you work with. And so we talked about it. They came to me with, we have to buy this house, don't lose it. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. Talk about pressure. They're calling me off the hook. And this was back then, they priced it at 1.8. It was basically, if it wasn't known as a Brady Bunch house, it was a tear down on a great lot. It's a type of house that every builder would want to build on and tear it down. But it was a Brady Bunch house. So it was a mad scramble, multiple offer situation. I don't remember if they had 15, 20, 30 offers, a lot of high profile people. I even had my own other high-profile actor clients look at the house and consider writing offers because they all wanted a piece of the Brady Bunch. Ended up that, this group of the Warner Brothers, they knew they had a plan, and it came down to us and Lance Bass. And it's in the press because Lance Bass started posting that he had won the house. He had won the bidding war, and he was celebrating on Instagram. And I'm on the phone with the head of the studio who's on his plane. And I'm conferencing in the listing agent. I'm like, what is going on? We are in the middle of negotiating, and you already made a deal with Lance Bass. How could this be possible? And he said, no. He shouldn't have done that. We thought it was going there. And anyways, the studio ended up doing what they needed to do, jumped over Lance, secured the deal. Lance got all pissed off. He was so upset. But they ended up
just as an aside, am I right in thinking, is Lance Bass, was he in a boy band?
Backstreet Boys. Yeah, he's the
Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, it's legendary.
And here's an even funnier aside. I think I'm right in this. Lance Bass became an astronaut and went up to the space station, and now he voices a podcast all about that.
Oh wow, Lance!
That's crazy.
Anyway, he's a really cool, smart, fun guy. They ended up including him in the TV show and the renovation. They kind of brought it together, made it like a fun thing. Because the Backstreet Boys, and they represented a lot of the similar themes of the Brady Bunch, right?
Yes.
Whether they actually
100%.
did it, but that was the projection. So anyway, that's how I got it the first time, and we ended up. It was 1.8. It got bid up to 3.5 million. So this was a $2 million teardown, really. But they paid 3.5 because they knew they had all these ancillary revenue streams. And they've done shows, and they've done projects, and they've done tours with studios executives and corporate executives. And now 5-6 years later, they're like, hey, it's time to get it off our books. We're not doing anything. Let's see if someone else wants to take over. We had a heck of a conversation about pricing it. It's not like most houses where you go, here's the 5 comps over the last 3 to 6 months. We're a little bigger. They have better views. We're in this range, and you could pretty much quantify within a 3% range where you should be. This was a who knows? How do you price a piece of art that's one of a kind? And so we went through a lot of iterations and a lot of different strategies. And at the end of the day, we basically ended up with, okay, how much did you guys spend? They spent 3.5. They put another 2 million in it, and we're like, let's just go out there and try to get that number back in 5.5. That's how we came up with it. It's not that complicated. Now, if it was the Brady Bunch, if it wasn't the Brady Bunch house, would it be 5.5? Absolutely not. Of course not. But then you would say it's an older house, and how much is an older house? But or a new house that looks old. I don't even know how you would price it.
Yeah.
But we know that if it was a tear down, it would only be worth 2.5. If there was no house there, it's a $2.5 million lot. It was a $2 million lot 5 years ago.
So Warners are taking a hit on the
Absolutely.
sale price,
They will.
but the revenue they've earned from it, from the TV series and other things that they've done, they'll make it up. Danny, just out of interest, a marketing question, that relationship, so you sold it to them in 2018, it's 2023, 5 years have gone by. I don't imagine Warners are a client that are coming to you all the time wanting to buy and sell residential property. How do you maintain that relationship? Or did they just go, hey, Danny did a good job in 2018. He's still in business. Let's use him again? Or was it competitive?
So it's always competitive, not always, but oftentimes it's competitive. How do we maintain relationships in the brokerage business where clients buy or sell once every 7 to 10 years on average? That is really the $100 million or $1 billion for all of us, right? Because in LA, I don't know, probably in Sydney and Melbourne and some of the other hot markets, everyone knows 10 or 20 agents. And oftentimes it's someone in their inner circle, a best friend or relative. So how do you break into that? Well, there's no easy trick, but I mean, I stay in touch with everybody, whether it's lunches and coffees or dinners. I do that. You can't take people out to dinner all the time, but I do that. I do my email drip campaigns. That happens in the background, once or twice a month. I have customized emails that look like customized emails that go out to very specific groups in my CMAs. So they're in that, my studio group, my A-list actor group, sometimes it's my lawyer group. So I'm constantly doing that, and I'm picking up the phone and seeing how people are, sending gifts when we close, sending birthday gifts when that comes up. And it's basic old school marketing 101, which, I don't even look at it as marketing anymore, even though I know it is.
It's beautiful hearing you rattle off that list of ways that you keep in contact, because for agents, it's your bread and butter and you're really good at it. A good agent, that's what they do well. For other business owners listening, whether you're in a product business or a service business, whether you're B2B or B2C, there's a lot to be learnt there, because it is marketing, but it isn't. Really, it's fun. Really, it's building friendships. I use that in air quotes because, first and foremost, these are business partnerships, but you guys are good at it. Danny, how important is this to you? You sell, I've looked at the listings for you over at on the Compass website. You're selling $30 million homes. That's your bread and butter from what I can tell. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a $5.5 million home, probably enough commission to send you and your family off to Greece for only a month. I'm sorry about that. But how important is this to you?
It's extremely important. And I don't look at any listing different based on price. I sell everything, whether it's a $200,000 hole-in-the-wall condo to a $200 million, Saudi oil chic mansion, everything in between. Does it feel a little different? Yeah. Does it feel a little different when it's a higher end property and there's a couple zeros bigger on the commission? Yeah, the end result is different, but really it's the same nut and bolts type of situation. There's the same challenges. Sometimes I find that the more savvy sellers are usually the higher end sellers, and it's less headaches, less challenges, less hand holdings, because they understand the process, they understand the nuances, and oftentimes it's the smaller deals or even the rentals, the leases, where you have the most issues because nobody's understanding the process. So they're not trusting you because they don't understand the process of how it works, and you end up doing so much more work. So I don't know if I answered your question at all, but
yeah, no, that makes sense.
But that's an overall thing. To answer your question, the Brady Bunch house is iconic. This is the most press I've had in my career. I have Eva Longoria's house listed and Paul Pierce. I'm working lots of sports, entertainment, high-profile people, but nothing in terms of media interest. Nothing has hit me like this. This has been a storm. So
I was going to ask you that. You haven't had a listing that's had more media attention. How have you personally handled that? Because even when I reached out to you, there was a slight element of guilt, and I was honoured that you said yes so quickly. So thank you for that. But how have you managed that? Or are you just going, hey, listen, this is a moment in time. You don't get to sell something like this every day of the week. I'm just going to suck it up, enjoy it, burn the candle at both ends, and see where it ends.
Yeah, so it's a little more nuanced than that, but my view is always lean in, right? If you're going to do something, go all in, lean in if you can do it, and that's how I look at this too. In terms of the press and media, when it's NBC and CNN and entertainment television, I had to lean on the studio's PR team to guide me on what they would allow me to do and not do. So I was getting hundreds of requests from radio, TV, this and that. And because of the studio's own relationships and their own strategies, they were saying, hey, look, no, ET, Entertainment Tonight has the exclusive. They're the only ones that could go in with the camera and film the house. So I got CNN and I got NBC and I got all these incredible major networks that want to come in the house. And I tell them, sorry, I can't let. Now, if it was up to me, yeah, let's go. Let's line you up. So I lean in. With podcasts, if it's a business podcast, I look into it always. If it seems like it relates to me and my audience, I'm always into it. Your audience is a very similar marketing business audience, whether it's Australia or California or Japan or anywhere else. The world is flat, it's global, and my market is global. My buyers and sellers are moving around the world, around the globe. So yeah, that's why something like this, to me, I always want to take the time to do that, because you get to meet good people and you get to brand yourself to a new audience, et cetera, et cetera. More marketing 101.
Danny, we didn't sign off on this, and it is on record. If you make a sale through this interview, I only want 50% of your commission, all right? In fact, call it 49. You have the lion's share.
Okay. I'll take 51. I give an owner's share.
Tell me, marketing-wise, this is the most media attention you or a property that you've represented has ever had. That's free. You've got a virtual tour. You've got beautiful photos on the listing. What other marketing are you putting into this?
So interesting enough, I don't need to do a ton of extra stuff because it's being exposed worldwide at a level that I could never touch, or even Compass could never touch. I mean, we have at Compass a big marketing team and PR team, and we do a really good job as a real estate brokerage getting media attention. But there's so much from the studio. It's like we're just riding the wave. Am I doing the basic social media, email blasts, and inviting brokers on tours and doing little special VIP invites? Absolutely. I'm absolutely doing all those things. But it doesn't compare to the massive swell and wave of media that has been brought on because it's an iconic, studio behind it, and an iconic property. So this is very unique. This is a very unique situation.
I forgot to ask, what is being sold? Obviously, the house and land. Looking at the pictures, and again, I'm looking at them now. Honestly, it takes my breath away. As you say, it's within a millimeter. Is all the furniture? Everything is set up as it was in the TV show.
Everything's included. It's all included. What's not included, and this is, at first glance, what's not included is any of the IP, right? We can't sell anyone the rights to the Brady Bunch name or likeness, right? This has nothing to do with that. We're selling a property that people perceive to be the Brady Bunch house. The next buyer will be the steward to do what they want to do with it. But we have to be very careful, and the studio has to be very careful. We don't own the Brady Bunch intellectual property or any of those rights. So you're not getting that, but you can get all the fun stuff and all the fixtures and all the fun furniture, and you can play Brady Bunch and rent it, do whatever you think you can do with it.
I love it.
I love it. If you want.
yeah, that's right. Well, you could create a cooking show. It could be called the Brady Lunch.
That too.
It's an iconic kitchen. That orange kitchen of Ellis's is absolutely iconic. Yeah. Tell me, where are you at with the sale at the moment, Danny? It's private sale. It's a price tag of 5.5 mil. It's not an auction. Correct me if I'm wrong, or a tender or expressions of interest. Where are you at in terms of the selling process? We've
been on the market a little more than 2 weeks, and the plan and the directions that we've given everyone is, hey, you need to give us at least 2 weeks to show it, because we decided that we're not going to hold any open houses or any brokers opens, because we didn't want it to look like the Coachella Music Festival on the sidewalk with hundreds of people coming by. So it's taken longer, and we have to be more selective to get people through. So we've taken these first few weeks of just packing private showings. And now that we've done that, there's a handful of people that are interested, and we've let them know, okay, now the 2 week period, it actually just passed. And we've said, if at this point, if you want to submit an offer, we will now be open to looking at offers. So I don't know how it's going to play out. We didn't get an immediate rush of offers. I had just got a text right before I jumped on with you about somebody who's potentially submitting an offer. But we get a lot of potential offers on every property. Sometimes they come through and sometimes they don't. I'll probably know more in another week or two.
Are you surprised that now that that 2 weeks is up for just the showings, that you didn't get an offer for 5.5 a minute after midnight in the third week?
I got to say, I am a little surprised. And our expectations were higher. We thought that some collector would just have to have it and probably even pay more than that. And that still could happen. But I am a little surprised that it was an immediate response just based on it being so unique. But who knows? I mean, we are in a very different housing market in LA. It's very challenging with the interest rates being around 7%. People are being very hesitant, and investors are being hesitant too. And our buyer pool, the majority of them will be investors, so they're being hesitant. And I think that's what a lot of this is. I think the investors that are running their numbers are thinking, if I put some financing on this, what do I need to really make to pencil? And what I thought would be a huge premium in rents, does it cover the expenses? But who knows? I mean, I guess it's all speculation. But to answer the question, yeah, I thought we'd have immediate collectors that would just have to have it.
As business owners, Danny, and there are many listening to this, unique opportunities come our way every now and then, for some more than others. When they come our way, it's incumbent upon us to use them to grow our business into the future. If they're a good opportunity, this is one for you. How are you going to use the listing and selling of the Brady Bunch home to further your personal brand, the Compass business for whom you work for? Have you got any ideas around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hitting it at all angles and being all in and using all this exposure and amplifying all this exposure on my social media and in my CRM and in my email and through my contact, and just complete in marketing, advertising, really pushing it out over the next. I'm sure I'll be continuing to market this thing for at least 6 months, even if it does sell tomorrow. It's going to be there's a whole marketing machine that I'm ready to launch. It's just at the beginning stage, because the first rush was really the studio's push. And after it sells, it's really going to be my turn to lay out and leverage all this media, and whether it's on the digital front, social media front, paper advertising front. So I'm going to be doing all that for months.
You are forever the guy who sold the Brady Bunch house. That's pretty cool. And I'm forever the guy who interviewed the guy who sold the Brady Bunch house. That's less cool, but I'm happy with it.
Guy behind the guy behind the guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yeah, I'd still rather be the guy that sold the $100 million or $1 billion ranch.
$1 billion ranch. Yeah. I think I ended up getting out of him his commission, which I think it was like 2.5%. Not bad on $1 billion.
Not bad. 25 million. Not bad.
Tell me, Danny, let's move on from the Brady Bunch, and then I'll let you go because you got plenty to do. You got to get the kids to baseball. Tell me, you deal with a lot of high net worth individuals. You mentioned you have a number of A-list actors that you represent. Just give us a little insight into dealing with that level of person. You sort of touched on the fact that they're invariably potentially easier because they're not. I don't know, they know what they're doing, and it's not such a big commitment to someone who's spending all their fortune on one asset.
Part of what I said is half of the story. You're dealing with very, very savvy business people, and almost every time, if not every time, an A-list, high-profile actor, athlete, business person comes with a team of lawyers, business managers, consultants, who I am dealing with directly, but I'm also dealing with the client directly. The client themselves isn't always such an easy personality to deal with. It's like anybody else. You get, half the people are easy to deal with, half are challenging. Hey, you can imagine a high-profile person has a lot going on. They're very, very detailed and very specific and want what they want, no matter how challenging it is. So you have to have a stomach and a temperament to handle pivoting on a dime every second to meet their needs. So the business managers and the lawyers, for me, are easier to deal with than the everyday mom and pop, because they're all very savvy business people and they speak my language. But dealing with a high-profile client who can be coming to town for a showing and then 10 minutes before calling and canceling, and then telling you can show the house, and then you show up and say, no one could come in, or change of mind 10 times an hour, that is not easy. And you are dealing with that. And you do have to have the patience and the sort of stoic mentality of dealing with that. I think a lot of people, or most people who want to be working at this level, don't realize really what comes with it and don't have the mindset, the patience, the ability to really manage the craziness that does go on. Because there is that personal chaotic craziness that goes on. So it's a little both. You're dealing with a little both.
It's an ongoing marketing conundrum. Is the client always right? What do you think?
Yes, they are always right. And even when they're wrong, they're right. Right? So it is a conundrum. If a client is stepping into a grenade or a minefield, I'm going to have a conversation and explain to them why I feel that is. But oftentimes, if the client hears you out and that you articulate why you think this is a bad idea and they want it, okay, I'm leading the charge through the minefield. And, maybe 1 time out of 10, I don't get blown up. But usually when I feel a minefield,
that's right.
we're all getting blown up. I tried to warn everybody. I tried to save everyone. But that's
but you need a mini me to walk ahead and just deactivate those little landmines that are invariably there.
Yes. Yes. You know exactly.
I love it. You've got a podcast. Well done to you as a podcaster. How's it going? It's called The Deal. What's it done for you and your personal brand?
Yeah. So I have a podcast, The Deal with Danny Brown. It's a podcast focused on top real estate agents around the world and the country and every market. And we've had on some incredible people. I've done it now 5 or 6 years. We've had about 75 episodes. And I love it. We really just get into the story and career arcs of these agents and what makes them tick, and a lot of similar themes to what you're talking about, but not just specifically marketing. We talk a lot about mindset and life skills and life lessons and morning routines and things like that get performers to a peak level. So it's done really well. You can find it on any podcast format, Apple and Spotify and everything else. It's also on YouTube if you want to see the video version. So please subscribe and like. There's my shout out for Danny Brown.
I'll delete that, mate, if I don't get my 49%, by the way. So
now you got that.
One last question before I let you go, Danny. It's a personal branding question. You work for Compass Realty in Beverly Hills. That's the agent that you work for. You have so Compass have, and if we go to the Brady Bunch listing, it's on over at compass.com. You have a domain, DannyBrownLA.com. Just explain to me the nuances of that.
So as a agent, we all hang our license here in America with a big brokerage or a small brokerage. Compass is the biggest brokerage in the United States. So I'm hanging my business and my license under Compass. So I have my own specific brand, my Danny Brown Group or Danny Brown LA, and that's my specific brand. Whether I'm at Compass or whether I go to Coldwell Banker or the agency or any other brokerage, I'm always going to be Danny Brown, and it's always going to hang there. And the only difference from that would be if I decided to go start my own brokerage, the Danny Brown Group and Associates, which then there would be no other agency. It would be me, and then people under me would join my brokerage. So oftentimes you'll see agents like me having their own personal brand within the big company's brand. So it's
okay.
That's how it works.
That makes sense. Have you always been Danny Brown, or did you have to change it when Dan Brown, the author, became incredibly famous through the Da Vinci Code?
So I was always Danny Brown, and something happened about 15 years ago. I've been in the business 23 years. There's an underground rapper from Detroit called Danny Brown, like a just disgusting underground, like as bad as it gets, or as good as it gets, if that's what you like. I mean, he's known to be one of the best underground gangster rappers around. But if you with gold teeth and gets into trouble with the law. So about 15 years ago, I started getting pings like, oh, I thought you were the rapper Danny Brown. I thought this was Danny. I'm like, what? And I Google it and I find out, oh my God, I'm trying to do high-end luxury in Beverly Hills and Bel Air and Malibu. And this guy's gangster rap in Detroit. I thought I should get him on my podcast and do a bit on it. That'd be hilarious. But no, the Dan Brown, the author, never has been an issue.
Okay. I think you should get Danny Brown, the rapper, on your podcast. That'd be absolutely fantastic.
Or you should interview both of us and be like, hey, 2 Danny Browns. How do you mark?
Love it. Hey, Danny, listen, mate, it's been awesome. Thank you for making the time, despite the amount of media attention you've got. I really, really appreciate that. I wish you a huge amount of success in selling the house. You won't need it. I'm sure it'll sell. What I'd love, question without notice, is that when it is sold and the dust has settled, if I could get you back on for 10 minutes just to talk about how it played out.
Yeah, and to get your royalty check, or I just send you some
exactly.
points.
I didn't want to mention that, but thank you for raising it. Everyone who's listening, DannyBrownLA.com is where you will find Danny and the Brady Bunch house listening. If for nothing else, if you don't have the $5 million US in your kick, at least go and have a look at the photos. You'll feel infinitely better. Danny Brown, thanks, brother.
Thanks, Tim. Good to see you, man. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Well, there you go, team. Beverly Hills real estate agent, Danny Brown. What a good guy. Gee, I enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed listening to that as much as I enjoyed talking to him on your behalf. If you want to buy the Brady Bunch's house, then all I ask is I get an invite for a sleepover. I would love that. You got to see the photos, guys. Find the listing over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/640, or you can you just Google Brady Bunch property listing. Just seeing the photos and the video alone is just so, so beautiful. What caught your attention? I'd love to know. Give the hotline a buzz on 0480 015 150 and let me know. I'll play it on an upcoming episode, most likely. So be sure to leave your business name for a bit of gratuitous self-promotion, just like Tassie-based photographer Richard did.
Hi, Timbo. Richard Dupe here. I'm a photographer from Tasmania. My website's richarddupe.com, Jupe. I just wanted to say thanks for many years of fantastic marketing advice. I've gone through a couple of different stints of being freelance, and every time I need marketing ideas, I go straight to your podcast. So I really appreciate it. I haven't got anything specific that I've kind of really put into action, so I thought I'd mention a whole bunch of different things for many years. The 20-point customer service plan being the most helpful. The recent stuff on video marketing I thought was fantastic. And I think more than anything else, just taking action and doing things. And every time I need a bit of action, I usually go to your podcast, try and take an idea and get out there. The last thing I wanted to say is I'd love to hear some more ideas for smaller businesses like myself, who's self-employed and have super limited time and budgets, obviously. I always try to make the most use out of the ideas, but I would absolutely love to hear more ideas for us small guys. Anyway, all the best, mate, and I should put a little shout out to your daughter, who I hear is doing photography. So good luck to her in a very interesting and exciting profession. Thanks, mate. Have a good day.
Hey, thank you so much, Rich, for taking the time to leave a message and for wishing my beautiful daughter good luck with her photography career. Anyone playing along at home, you can see my daughter's Instagram and all her wonderful photography. You might even want to employ her services, because I tell you what, proud dad here, but she's got a certain style, a certain aesthetic that I think is going to set her up really well. Her Insta is Steph, STEPH RXID, Steph RXID. Check it out. Hey, Rich, your request for more episodes on budget ideas for small business, that's quite interesting, man. I often have you guys top of mind when selecting guests, you guys meaning smaller businesses with limited marketing budgets. So do go back and check out the recent episode I did with Dario, the Tuscan butcher. We talked about customer experience. Tim Denning, recently on writing and blogging. Kim McCosker, a prolific author who's self-published 41 books. Oliver Garside from the accounting software Rounded. He talked all about customer satisfaction. Troy Dean and I talked about video marketing and ChatGPT. So it's a lot of marketing ideas and episodes focusing on marketing ideas that don't cost a lot of dough. But if there is a topic, Rich, or anyone else that you'd like me to cover, please hit me up, tim@timreid.com.au, and I'll certainly look into covering it on a future episode. Everyone else, be like Richard and give the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline a buzz. The phone number, 0480 015 150, and let me know which episode resonated with you, maybe what marketing is working for you right now, whatever you want to share, 0480 015 150. Righto. It is time for you to take action on what you've learned, because ideas remain exactly that, without action. If you'd like to support the work I do for small business and want even more of me, good luck. Then check out my exclusive business owner membership at patreon.com/marketing podcast. As I said, membership starts at a tax-deductible $8.50 a month, no lock-ins, and there is a free 7-day trial on the middle tier, which is called Silverama, and that's $47 a month, and that's got a lot of marketing juice in it for you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button on your favourite podcast app, where you'll find 639 more chats with successful business founders. Big thanks to Sam Heathcote for stitching the marketing gold together, and to our in-house rock star, Lockie Doley, who is on a national tour at the moment, for putting together the music bed. Most importantly, a very, very big thank you to you, the motivated business owner, for making time to tune in. Really appreciate it. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.